Hi mini makers, we're going to learn how to make our canvas bag today. I love this because you can store all of your treasures for the summer in it, and then if you go traveling with your family over the holiday or summer break, you can color in the states that you have visited at any point in your life. So some of the little states are going to be harder. You might have to color over your painting, but that's okay. So to get started, we're going to flip this over and peel it back. Now careful about all of those little inserts of the states. You want all of the blue to stick down to the clear transfer and not come up on the white. So if anything does come up on the white, I'm just pushing back forward and peeling straight back. This is definitely a job that mom, dad, or a trusted adult will want to help you with. Then we're going to flip it over and line it up. I like to line up the top of my stencil with the seam line, and that way I know I'm nice and straight. You're gonna push it down really hard. If your bag got a little bit of wrinkles prior in transit, you'll want to maybe iron it, or just push your stencil down really, really hard. Okay, before I peel off that clear, I like to take my insert of white backing and put it inside the bag. This is going to help protect your bag from seeping through as we paint. So go ahead and put that in the bag. Push everything down again. And then we're going to peel this clear straight back. Again, making sure that all of the blue stays down. So if it starts coming up like it's doing right here, I'm just gonna push it back down. Some of those little states are gonna be quite a challenge to get them to stay down. So if it doesn't work, you can always color over it when you go to visit those little states in the Northeast. You just put a little dab of paint right over it and it'll be just fine. You're at least getting the outline of the United States here. So we're down here in Florida. That's where Paisley Grace Makery is based out of, but I know we ship these boxes all over the country. So your map is gonna look filled in much different than what my map would look like. So after I get my stencil all pulled, I'm going to take my black paint and I'm going to go ahead and start working on my outline. Now, parents or trusted adults, or if you're setting yourself up, this is not as forgiving as our boards because we don't want to put paint around our fabric, so it might be a good idea to take painter's tape and protect your edges so you don't drip. I'm just going to cover up my thing and make sure I don't use this so it doesn't seep through. So I'm going to dip, scrape, always unload, so you're working with just a little bit of paint. Don't get too sloppy because this is where it can seep through and it's not going to be a crisp line on your canvas bag. So just build this slowly, dip, scrape, unload. And we're just going to get our first layer on there. If your paint has separated at all and it's not covering, paint formulas are changing all over the country right now, so just give it a good shake with the lid on strong, and that'll give you a little bit better coverage. So dip, there we go. And I'm just going to get my first layer of paint on here. I don't want to try and cover it all up right away because I want those edges to dry. Canvas bags are a little bit trickier than boards just because they do have fibers. So we just want to work with a little bit of paint at a time. And know that there's no art that's absolutely perfect. So if there's a little bit of bleed, it's not a big deal. You're going to be coloring them in as you visit those states anyway. But definitely don't keep going over the same lines over and over. Let it have a chance to dry in between your layers, and you'll have a much better turnout. So I'm just getting my first layer on here. Dip, scrape, unload. Make sure my sponge is not shiny. I never want to put too much paint on here, so always make sure you're unloading first. And you really only have to focus on the lines, not the states, because the states we're going to peel off. Once you get a good first layer on here, then you can go back through where you started and go ahead and start your second layer. And you're gonna see that second layer is really gonna start covering it in. So your first layer is almost just like your warm up. You don't wanna make it too dark because otherwise it is going to bleed underneath this. I personally love traveling. I've been a lot of different places. I don't think I have every state done yet. There's a lot of states I haven't been to, Montana being one of them. Haven't been to Washington. Let's see, haven't been to Arizona. Haven't been to Maine. A lot of the states in the Northeast I have not been to, but I have been to New York. So I can't wait to see how your bags turn out. Please make sure you have your trusted adult take a picture of you and share it with us. We would love to have pictures of our mini makers holding up their projects, because we know that you all put your own unique spin on them, and we want to see how they turn out. Once I get my second layer on here, I'm going to switch colors and I'm going to do a teal for my Let's Explore. If you have other paint colors from your past boxes at home, you could easily do that as well. You could change your colors. You could do a different color for each letter. You can get as creative as you want with yours. So I'm going to go ahead and just keep dabbing this. All right, I have one good layer, or really two good layers of everything. My third light layer is probably gonna be my final one. And you're really just kind of looking for anywhere that you still see the canvas bag fibers coming through. You don't want to get too much paint though, because that's where it's going to push underneath. So even if you kind of leave it as a worn, distressed look, it will definitely still work. And then when you do visit these states, you could use markers. They have fabric markers, but you could just use regular Sharpie markers and color in the states that you've been to. Just be sure when you are coloring them that you always put a piece of paper in between so it doesn't seep through to the other side. All right, then when you're done, put your lids back on your paints. Because remember, we really don't want to spill on here. Pull your things off to the side. I use a wipe to make sure my hands are really, really clean before I touch my canvas bag, because it's much harder to clean up fingerprints on these. And cover up any paint spills that I have, or maybe even bring it to a clean part of the table. And I'm just going to take my tweezers and peel off my stencil. Now, so you don't smudge it, you could let it dry a little bit, and then you might feel more comfortable peeling off all these so they don't flip and then land on your project. Or you could even blow dry it. You're just gonna pull up all your states. And then when you're through, peel out your center, and you have your Let's Explore. Hi, so for the second part of your project, you have your very own wood journal that you can do all of your drawings in, or you take journal entries of everywhere that you've traveled for this summer and beyond. So I'm not going to paint the background at all because I like the wood look. You could totally paint the background if you want. It might be hard to get into all of these little spaces. So you could use watercolors if you want, and that might be a little bit easier too. But I really like the wood look, so I'm just gonna leave it plain. I'm still gonna use my stencil. Making sure I'm peeling back and leaving all of the blue on here. And I'm just gonna flip it over and line it up where I want it. Push it down. And then I'm just gonna peel this clear layer straight back. If anything starts coming up, I'm gonna push it back down. So the steeper back you pull, closest down, more things will stay down, they won't come up. Once I have the clear completely removed, I'm just gonna lightly push around, make sure everything's down really good. And then I'm gonna use my white sponges and go ahead and paint. Remember, a little bit of paint goes a really long way. So let's see, I'm gonna do my water blue. I'm gonna dip, scrape, always unload on a paper towel first so it looks really dry onto your sponge, and then just hop straight up and straight down. You don't want to try and fill it all in dark right away because that's when it's going to bleed underneath, and especially because we didn't do a background color, we want to make sure we're using just a little bit of paint. So build those layers slowly. Okay, now I want to do my words black, so I'm going to dip, scrape, unload, and hop, hop, hop. So I have barely any paint on my sponge. I don't want it shiny on my stencil at all. Parents, you might want to tape off anywhere else that you don't want them to paint with painter's tape or anything like that, so they don't go outside. But if they do, it's not a big deal. You can use that sandpaper and sand it down. It's the wonderful thing about wood. There's always another layer. Okay, and then I want to do my mountains gray. So I'm going to mix a little bit of white and a little bit of black and get kind of a light gray here. You can even get just a little bit of white on the tip and give your mountains a little bit of snow-cappedness if you'd like. All right. Do one more layer of my black for my Tucker. Tucker is my son's name. And one more layer of blue, again, because we didn't want to use too much paint at once. We're going to build that slowly. All right. Once you have it all done, put your lids back on your paints because we never want to spill when we're trying to peel off our stencil. Take our trash and put it to the side. And then I'm going to use my tweezers to just peel it off. And voila! I hope you had so much fun with this box. Don't forget to share your creations. Post them on our Facebook page or Instagram. We would love to see how your journal and your bag turned out. Bye now.